Hello and welcome to another edition of Weapons and Warfare. For Straight Arrow News, I'm your host, Ryan Robertson. We have plenty in store for you in this week's episode. Like this story about taking AI pilots to the next level. We check in with one of the leaders in artificial intelligence to see how they're working to make their tech interchangeable and adaptable to several different military platforms. And we head out to the field to see how one aspect of the Army's vision for the future of combat is coming together just months after it was created. But first, some headlines you may have missed. With news cycles dominated by the wars in Ukraine and Gaza, as well as China keeping everyone on edge in the South China Sea, North Korea must be feeling a little left out. So, in late August, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un supervised a demonstration of some new attack drones. State media says the dictator pledged to increase the development of such weapons to boost his military's war readiness. Amid growing tensions with Washington and Seoul, Kim has been flaunting his military capabilities. North Korean photos of the test showed what's believed to be a loitering drone crashing into and destroying a target, which resembled a South Korean SK-2 main battle tank. The test came as the U.S. and South Korean militaries conducted a large-scale exercise aimed at enhancing their combined capabilities to defend against growing North Korean nuclear threats. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is now operating in the U.S. Central Command's area of operations, joining the USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group. In August, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin ordered the Lincoln to accelerate its deployment in response to Iranian officials threatening strikes on Israel. At a Pentagon press conference, Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh said the forces are well positioned to counter any attack from Iran or Iranian-backed proxies.
We remain focused on efforts to de-escalate tensions in the region, and while also remaining focused on securing a ceasefire as part of a hostage deal to bring all of the hostages home and to end the war in Gaza.
An Air Force F-22 Raptor squadron is also operating in the region, as is the USS Georgia, a cruise missile submarine. Another barrier broken, this time at 30,000 feet. A NATO AWACS aircraft recently flew with its first all-female crew over NATO's eastern flank as part of a routine enhanced vigilance flight.
Typically, in a crew of 30, I'm typically the only or one of 2 or 3 females. This is an amazing feat to be able to see NATO have an entire crew full of women. We've come a long way even in the past 15 years. When I first started flying with NATO, there were crew positions that were missing because we just didn't have female, for instance, flight engineers. Now we can fill every single seat with a woman, and it's just a neat opportunity to be able to say, hey, this is all women, and I'm very proud of it.
The mission featured 22 servicewomen from Canada, Czechia, Denmark, Germany, Italy, Poland, Portugal, and the United States. If you're a fan of the show, you probably heard us talk before about EpiSci, a software development firm out of Southern California. It's been a big year for the startup. In May, it was part of an effort that put Secretary of the Air Force Frank Kendall in the cockpit of an AI-piloted F-16 for a capabilities demonstration. And in June, it was acquired by Merlin, a Boston-based company also working in the AI agent arena. And recently, the tech wizards took part in Silent Swarm 2024, where they took their AI pilot out of the air and put it in the captain's seat on the water at the Alpena Combat Readiness Center in Michigan. The annual exercise featured around 60 technologies and more than 500 participants. For EpiSci, it was a chance to test the capabilities of its tech in a contested environment. In coach speak, it was essentially offense on defense in a maritime battle space. Josh Bloom, one of EpiSci's senior software engineers, told us it was a big opportunity for the company's ever-expanding efforts to meet the DoD's need for autonomous vehicles.
Having the ability to really scale up to 6 boats at Silent Swarm. We've since scaled up to 10 boats in testing. And they've done this in a matter of like 6 months. They've gone from no boats all the way to being able to manufacture. They've got 15 right now. So just getting out on the water and actually testing in these kind of realistic environments is something that really hasn't been done before this.
The exercise highlighted the abilities of the team's cross-domain collaborative autonomy technology. Think of it as plug and play, taking their AI out of a jet and running it on 6 Havoc AI Rampage USVs, all while using a single command and control operator to carry out the mission.
That's really what the algorithms have been developed for. And they're built in such a way that a C2 operator only has to interface with one of these boats in order to interface with the entire swarm.
EpiSci's founder, president, and CEO, Bo Ryu, says working on the water rather than in the air provides a very practical means to grow their efforts.
Maritime is actually what is accelerating a lot faster, obviously because aircraft very hard to modify and add something new without certification and things like that. So experimentally, we are doing really well, but we'll see how fast it comes down. But in the water, right? In the water side, I mean, it's a very different ball game when it comes to speed and the scale.
As the DoD continues to reshape its forces for potential conflicts with near-peer adversaries, speed and scale are at the top of the list when it comes to bolstering America's defense efforts. And EpiSci sees having that plug-and-play functionality as a driver in getting its tech into the hands of the people who need it.
They cannot deal with 10 different autonomy solutions. Just a nightmare. So government has a very clear goal. Actually, can they find a vendor, a technology solution that can rapidly adapt to a new platform, right, without waiting for 6 months? Can we do it in 2 weeks? 4 weeks, right? 1 week, right? When they change it, right? And that's really what our team started demonstrating.
While integration with multiple platforms is an overarching goal of EpiSci, Ryu acknowledged there's another learning curve that needs to happen to truly bring this technology to the fight. And that's the human aspect of it all. Military leadership shouldn't think of using autonomous vehicles the same way they would with an experienced warfighter in the driver's seat. He says it's going to take a recalibration of risk assessment to meet specific objectives, since threats can now be addressed in ways they never could with lives at stake.
Serving you clarity through context, our mission at SAN is to deliver the news straight down the middle. We're different from mainstream media because we spotlight distorted headlines and show you how to do it too. Discover stories that right and left-leaning outlets are choosing not to cover by using our Media Mist tool. Download the SAN app and turn on notifications to have straight facts delivered right to your phone or tablet, and get straight facts anytime at SAN.com.
Normally in our Weapon of the Week, we take a look at new hardware. We've covered everything from drones to tanks to amphibious combat vehicles. But today we're looking at a concept, specifically the Army's Multi-Functional Reconnaissance Company, or MFRC. Even though the war in Ukraine is still very much an active conflict, the lessons being learned are changing the way American military leadership views the future of combat.
They have a pretty good view over the perimeter.
Lighter, more lethal units equipped with state-of-the-art technology are seen as the way forward. MFRCs, like this one with the 101st Airborne Division, are part of the Army's most significant transformation in more than 40 years. This elite recon unit now has access to drones and a host of combat-ready tech, all designed to keep an eye on the enemy while staying safely concealed.
And we've been tasked with being painfully light and disproportionately lethal in order to sense, kill, and protect on behalf of the brigade.
It's a marked shift from focusing on counterterrorism operations to equipping units to deter enemy forces and take advantage of current technology and war-fighting trends. As constructed, a multi-functional recon company consists of 3 hunter-killer platoons, one to handle drones, another for electronic warfare, and a third to handle robotics and autonomous systems.
and then our snipers are to the east.
Of course, once airborne troops are on the ground, they need a way to get where they're going. Enter the Army's infantry squad vehicle, essentially a stripped-down version of the Chevy Colorado. Light enough to navigate rough terrain, but big enough to store all the supplies to sustain a recon team for several days. Established in March, the MFRC already took part in 2 large-scale field training exercises. The first was at Fort Campbell in Kentucky back in April, and most recently at Fort Johnson in Louisiana. Time now for Comms Check, and like our debrief, it's a check-in with a weapons and warfare regular, Shield AI. In August, the arms and artificial intelligence technology startup successfully demonstrated its AI pilot, HiveMind, with 2 interacting Kratos firejets accompanied by 2 chase jets. They say it paves the way for the seamless integration of manned and unmanned aircraft, a big step towards development for the future of air combat. The flight tests, without any in-flight human intervention, featured 2 autonomous jets piloted by HiveMind, flying in formation and teaming up to perform real-time tactical maneuvers.
I love seeing the lag maneuver in the tests, right? So coming into the line abreast, once they actually achieve that line abreast, you notice that the agent on the left was a little bit out in front. So what it performed was a lag maneuver, which is using geometry to essentially swing out wide and let the second firejet catch up. I think that is some really, really cool autonomy.
Well, the test featured 2 jets. Shield AI's co-founder and president, Brandon Singh, says the algorithm can handle much larger numbers, something that's sure to catch the eye of the people spearheading the Replicator initiative. That's the DoD's plan to field thousands of autonomous systems, like uncrewed aircraft and underwater drones, in an effort to stay ahead of China's ongoing military buildup.
All opinions expressed in this segment are solely the opinions of the contributors.
Well, we are just about out of time for this week's Weapons and Warfare. If you like the show and want to help us grow, do us a favor, like and subscribe to our social media feeds. We'd love to hear from you as well, so go ahead and send us an email to weaponsandwarfare, all spelled out, at san.com. To wrap things up this week, I'm going to speak a little on the importance of names and origin stories. Now, like many men my age, and much to the dismay of our parents, I'm a big fan of comics, the books, the shows, the movies. I just can't get enough. And one thing every comic fan knows is a character's origin story and how it often defines who they are, what sort of values they hold. Earlier this week, I spoke to a former Israeli intelligence officer, negotiator, and now author, Avi Melamed. I was interviewing him about the situation in the Middle East with Israel fighting Hamas, Hezbollah, and other Iranian proxies. During our discussion, I misspoke and called the proxies the Iranian axis of evil. He corrected me and said, while it may be considered evil, the proper name is the Iranian axis of resistance, al-Muqawama. Melamed told me while many in the West fantasize this idea of resistance, in the Iranian paradigm, resistance is nothing any civil person should ever want. Because Iranian resistance is, in large part, why there can't be peace in the Middle East, and why there won't be until Iran and its proxies stop resisting the idea that Jewish people have a right to exist on this planet, that the nation of Israel is a sovereign member of the global community. The al-Muqawama doctrine, as the Washington Institute calls it, was adopted by most of the Arab world after Israel successfully defended itself in multiple conventional wars in the 1960s and 70s. The leaders of Hezbollah and Hamas define it as a state of constant combat, perpetual warfare, not with large standing armies, but with a steady stream of smaller strikes, death by 1,000 cuts. It's because of this doctrine that Israel developed air defense systems like the Iron Dome. Even the name Hamas is an acronym for Harakat al-Muqawama al-Islamiyah, or the Islamic Resistance Movement. Its origin story and its name defines the terrorist organization as one committed to constant war. So it should not come as a surprise when the group's leaders consistently reject peace offers and ceasefire deals, because those concepts are antithetical to their core beliefs. These characters are trapped by their origin stories, unlikely to ever change. Some new characters may be introduced at some point. Whether that will be enough to change this current arc, though, remains to be seen. For senior producer Brett Baker, video editor Brian Spencer, and graphics artist Dakota Patillo, I'm Ryan Robertson with Straight Arrow News, signing off.